Beantown, New York Town. This is the Beantown Beatdown. Matthew Burris.
Gabe Thomas.
Got some peach margaritas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, just like our last episode where we got super fucked up.
Exactly.
Yeah, no grape this time. It's just peach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were gonna say?
Oh yeah, no, that was basically it. It was our first web show back since the 420 episode, and yeah, fun times.
Oh yeah. Also, folks, for the Canelo Alvarez Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight, we'll be doing a Facebook Live preview of the fight around 9:15. So be on the lookout for that this Saturday night.
Okay.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers to that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So now, get into our first discussion of the day. Ronda Rousey, as we all know, is getting married to Travis Brown. So it almost looks like what I said in the earlier episodes is about to come through fruition. You know, I said, what she could do is, her and Travis, fuck like Minx, get married, raise some rugrats, and live happily ever after.
Right.
Basic Instinct Part 1.
Yep. So yeah, you think that's true? You think it's gonna happen here?
I don't know. I mean, the future is still up in the air for her as far as fighting goes. I mean, she's got one guest appearance on Blind Spot, and
which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, but after this, after that, I don't know what's to happen now.
Right.
I mean, she's made some like red carpet appearances and stuff like that, but the future is still up in the air for her as far as fighting goes.
But yeah. I mean, and I'm guessing you're still holding out hope for her that she will fight.
Yeah, I'm still holding out hope, but if she does come back to fighting, I don't think she's gonna get an immediate title match just like last time. It's like because there's other contenders that have been working up the ranks, so it's like when Ronda Rousey comes back of the line.
Right. So it's not like this time she can expect to pick up where she left off, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, she's no stranger to hard work, but so it's possible she could come back for another title shot.
Right.
So, I mean, but she's getting married. No word yet on when the wedding day is. But hopefully it'll be a nice marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, this leads into our second discussion. As you people may have heard today, the NFL is considering medicinal marijuana to be part of the NFL. So that means players can smoke weed, but only for medicinal reasons, for medical reasons.
Right.
So the big question is, should medicinal marijuana be allowed in all sports?
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting question. I believe that there's a lot that it can do for pain and such, and in that case, you shouldn't treat it like a criminal activity, and we're asking these athletes to risk a lot, right? We're asking them to risk not necessarily life, but certainly limb, and and like their health, their dexterity. We're asking them to risk all of that on the field, and it might have been different in the old days when we didn't want to believe that there was concussions, for instance, in football. But now we're starting to know better, so there's a lot of physical risk. There's a lot of pain that can be involved. I think if they do want to use marijuana to alleviate that pain, that shouldn't be a criminal. That shouldn't be seen as criminal, even by the sports authorities.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because there's nowadays when you look at these old timer athletes, I mean, they walk around with limps and stuff like that. I mean, it's like smoking a joint can help, like someone like for Shaquille O'Neal who walks around with bad knees,
Right.
And O.J. Simpson, he has bad knees. Of course, he's in prison, though he might get out this summer. It's this summer the juice may be loose. Had to say it. So if smoking a joint can help heal their pain, not only heal their pain with their joints or migraine headaches, or use it for to relax them. If they have high anxiety, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure I do think anxiety is a part of it too, and I'm sure this is where some people would say, okay, well, that can be that's a justification for anything. Then that can be stretched, to justify anything. Well, I mean, do we really have to be that stringent anyway?
Yeah, there are going to be some people that abuse the system, but I think if we do a thorough background check into their medical history and stuff like that, then maybe, just maybe, it can work out perfectly.
And yeah, what I was gonna say is that even if so, I mean, we should, there's a lot that we take from these athletes, and there's a lot that we expect from these athletes, and maybe we should give them a break. You know what I mean? We don't begrudge them drinking as much as they want, which can sometimes be really risky if they have a game the next day or something. So why would we begrudge them this when we ask so much from them?
Yeah, especially with the NFL is definitely in bed with alcohol,
Good
or
point.
the UFC, they're in bed with Bud Light. So
yeah, exactly. So that becomes completely hypocritical. I think I've told before the story where I was gonna work for Bud Light or Anheuser-Busch, the parent company, and they distribute and sell alcohol. That's their job. It's entertainment. It's a drug, and they were going to drug test me by my hair. So I can distribute alcohol for them, but God forbid I do anything else, So yeah, I think that is actually hypocritical if we get down to it.
Yeah, but of course this is still up in the air, so we don't know what Roger Goodell or the investors are going to say. I mean, but if it does happen, for once it'll give Roger Goodell some brownie points.
Exactly. No pun intended.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, that's also a good point. I think that they are worried about their reputation and stuff like that. But your reputation's in shambles because of your own making, your own problems, and it's only old school thinking that makes you think that this would hurt your reputation. Really, this could help your reputation if you're the first sports authority to do this, to allow medical marijuana. And that would actually, we're not in the same world as 2 decades ago or before. This would actually help your reputation.
Yeah, exactly. So. We'll wait and see what happens with this. And now we're getting into what we're calling this segment now. Sorry, it's always macho doesn't mean that, or it's get over yourself. So what do you call it?
So now it's your weak wrist.
Oh, right, your weak wrist.
Yes, I debuted the new title at our episode last week at the studio. So
yeah, so it'll air tonight. Mm-hmm. By the way,
exactly. Keep a watch out. Yeah. So yeah, your weak wrist, and for those at home that don't know, that basically means that there is we have to acknowledge there's a side of you that is not always on your game. A side of you that's not always up to it. Real life doesn't go the way we expect. Sometimes even the good things, we kind of picture it in our mind one way, and it doesn't work out that way. I'm sure you dealing with your Asperger's know about that, Matt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, before I was diagnosed, it was. I just thought I was just slow at math or whatever, and
right.
now I realize what it was, or why do I do some of the things I do, and.
But I mean, part of it is that you have a certain expectation, and it's hard to let go of things that don't if they don't go your way. So that's one of the things that we all deal with. I think I think we all kind of have that. We want things to play out like in the movies, but it doesn't work that like that. A lot of times, real life is a lot more awkward, and sometimes even the really good things, they happen in a way that we're like, oh, if only, that was good, but if only it happened this way. The reason I once called the segment "Get Over Yourself" is it's also like get over that, get over what you thought would happen in your head, and accept what's actually happening, out here in the real world. The problem with the real world is that you come face to face with people that don't see things your way. You come face to face sometimes with people that have contrary goals to yours. And the idea is not to shrink away, but to go forward with what you need to do. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's also it's a little reminder. It kind of reminds me of. It's kind of funny because I was. On my way here, I was reading the Metro newspaper, and because Leah Michelle is in Boston, to promote her second album, and she was on Glee, and I remember this quote from Glee that they always said on the show. It was, "Don't look at the world as it is; look at it as it should be."
Exactly. And I mean, and that's the other thing. There's a good reason that we want to see the world, this way. There's a good reason to expect better. It's because every once in a while you can make it so. Every once in a while you can make it better. And it does it. And all of you who have fought for social justice or fought for a cause, it doesn't get better overnight. It gets better. Gradually, and then sometimes, yes, with big momentous events, but they kind of are a framework for a bigger story, and so yeah, in social justice, you say the struggle is continuous. It's not always over. So yeah, and so there's a good reason to push forward, but also kind of expect the unexpected. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So, so that's kind of where we're at in this world. We're kind of dealing with those two different things, and I understand the impulse. I feel the exact same way. I feel that that things should play out my way, and in the way that a movie would. But it's not always like that. Like I said, in the real world, there are other people that want things to turn out their way, and basically, what the real world is just kind of the meeting of all of these minds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, and there are times when you're gonna have an obstacle, and that obstacle could be someone who's going to tell you no, or it could be a gym teacher who doesn't believe in the arts.
Exactly. Yep. And obviously that's something I've dealt with as well. but yeah, in those moments, it's important to kind of acknowledge where they're coming from. Understand that you have to deal with that, but also keep going forward with what you need to do. So I call it your weak wrist, because you have to acknowledge that there's something that isn't quite perfect. There's something that isn't that won't quite get you as far. But if you acknowledge it and deal with it, then you will be able to overcome anything that comes your way.
Oh, absolutely, and that's not only with social justice, our just real life situation. That's also with with music or movies or sports.
Yes, exactly. And there's a lot of good stories about that, about people that were trying to make the next great thing, and they if you're telling the story honestly, they didn't just come up with it and have the aha moment and then ran to the street and made it happen. Sometimes they were in complete doubt. Sometimes people told them, this is ridiculous. You're not, it's never going to amount to anything. You know what I mean? I remember we were watching the movie. What's that movie? October Sky. That one about the guy who built all the rockets and such.
Oh yeah, that starred.
Is it Toby Keith or Jake Gyllenhaal?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
I always get them messed up. Yeah, exactly. Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, and that we were watching this in class once, and there's the part where everyone's laughing at him and like, oh yeah, sure, you could make this work with a science fiction scholarship, that type of thing, and he runs up to his room and starts throwing things, almost starts crying, and our teacher that was showing us this said you're gonna have days like this, but don't give up. And that's what it's about. In real life, you're going to encounter that. You're going to encounter the skeptics and the people that, and the shit talkers, really. And, no matter what it is, back then it was about rockets, and, now rocket science is a huge thing, but whatever the next thing is, right now, someone is telling someone, that it can't be done and that it's stupid. But, if that person prevails, it will be, the next big thing later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, you and I are a perfect example. I mean, we started this, when you and I started this thing, we just, we were just audio only in our basement, like just a voice podcast.
Exactly.
Then,
we just had a picture of the Boston skyline, and that was it for a whole hour. And not everyone wanted to be a part of that.
Well, yeah, and then it went from the skyline to now you could probably then you can see our faces, and then afterwards we made a theme song and a video, and now we're on Scott TV.
Exactly. Yep. And it can, and yeah, that's the great thing about nowadays is that there's a lot of cooperative opportunities, and there's a lot of self-starters, and yeah, so we were able to build this from the ground up, and that's what we're going to keep doing into the future. And yeah, so we started with with the audio only podcast in our basement, and who knows where we're going to end up from there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it went from the basement and your place, and now we're on Scott TV.
Exactly.
We have a Facebook page, and we're moving up to bigger and better things. And
exactly.
Hopefully,
like I said, we're going to keep going.
Yeah, hopefully it'll lead to some money too.
Exactly. So yeah, to kind of close this out, I'm gonna tell a kind of parable that I heard once that has always stuck with me, which is there's there's three different things that can change when they're boiled by water. So someone was telling their kids this when they were having a tough time. The mother told her child, "Honey, there are three different things in this world. There's the carrot, there's the egg, and there's the coffee." And so those sound like strange things. What's that about? But the constant is boiling water. So they all do something when react in some way to boiling water. And boiling water is basically what I've been talking about. The whole the clash with the real world. The obstacles in your way. So you throw a carrot in boiling water. What happens to it?
I don't know. I don't eat carrots.
Right. Anyway, the answer is that it becomes soft. It becomes soft and mushy. Throw a carrot in boiling water. It becomes soft and mushy. It lets the boiling water wear it down to the point where it can just crumble. And becomes nothing. It becomes too soft. You throw an egg into boiling water. You should know this one. What does the egg do?
It takes off the skin and then it.
Well, yeah, but you're able to take off the egg shell because the inside is
soft.
Hard.
Oh, hard.
The inside becomes harder, and that's what a hard-boiled egg is. Right. So you throw a boiling egg into the water, and it stiffens up and becomes super hard. Its response to the boiling water is to just become hard. It hardens its heart, if you will. Those are how most people deal with the world. You encounter boiling water, you either become soft and melt away, or you harden up inside and become where and try and become where no one can touch you, that type of thing. So both of those are just reactive. They're just reacting to the water around them. There is one thing that can change the water around it, and what is that? But the coffee. You throw coffee grounds into the boiling water. What happens? It actually doesn't really change itself, but it changes all of the water around it. It makes the water into coffee instead. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are three different ways you can react to the harsh world around you. You can soften up. You can soften down, harden up, or decide I'm not going to let it change me, but I'm going to change it. I'm going to change all the water around me, and that's what the coffee does. So. The moral of the story is try and be the coffee.
Try to be the coffee?
Exactly.
Oh.
You see what I mean? Because the coffee is the only thing that will actually change the outside world instead of just reacting to it internally.
Oh. Well, that's kind of a little hard to process because I'm a little tipsy right now.
Yeah. But anyway, the point being, instead of reacting to the world, instead of trying to prove the world wrong, why don't you just, keep doing what you're doing, and eventually you'll change the world instead.
Oh, okay, exactly. Okay.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers to that.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah. Well, before we move on, I actually had a wet. I kind of been remembering this wet dream. This was when I had a huge crush on Megan Fox.
Okay.
And actually, I still do to this day. And because she is such a total hot chick.
Mm-hmm.
I had this one dream. I was going to my room, and she's sitting in my bed, butt naked. And she is reading Batman's The Dark Knight, Returns comic book.
Okay.
Yeah, because she loves comic books.
Mm-hmm.
She said in interviews, "Yeah, I love action. I like violence." Mm-hmm. And so I had this dream that she's sitting there and she's reading it, and then I just start fucking the shit out of her. I fucked the shit out of her. I fucked her doggy style, and then of course we ate a Subway sandwich, and
always some food after the fun, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah, Megan Fox is just like she's still beautiful. I mean, she is a MILF.
Mm-hmm.
That one, she is so beautiful, and I also had another dream where we fucked, and then afterwards we were watching Enter the Dragon.
Of course, yeah. Isn't it interesting that maybe part of your attraction is because she said those things? I mean, I wonder if she said them because she actually is an action fan, or if she said them because she knows that's what men want to hear.
Well, I think she is, starring in the Ninja Turtle movies, and
oh yeah,
yeah, and of course Jennifer's Body. I mean, yeah, it may not have been a good movie plot wise or whatever, but I liked it.
Yeah,
and I mean, of course, I think because she says that she doesn't want her kids on like Facebook or Instagram, because she says that she's gotten messages before, like, if you don't befriend me, then I'll die, and she says like it's a place that encourages bullying and stuff like that. I mean, good luck when your kids become teenagers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. Jabbar and I were talking about that, and I was like, I was talking about some interaction I had with some parent that was like, I'm not going to let my kids have a cell phone, or I'm not going to let my kids have a Facebook account. And it was like Dr. Laura or something back in the day was like my kids are on it was when it just turned from MySpace to Facebook, and they were like, my kids want to be on Facebook, what do I do? And she was like, you can't let them do it, type of thing. And I remember telling Jabari that, and he's like, well, no, unfortunately, you can't actually really stop them nowadays, and it's so ubiquitous, and yeah, it's a tough thing. I don't know what I would do, because I kind of would feel the same way. I actually, I don't care if in 20 years it's gonna be like the thing that everyone does, even 11-year-olds. I would be like, yeah, you're 11 now. Let's talk when you're 15. Let's talk when you're 16. But yeah, it's just so ingrained in our culture that maybe kids would find a way to do it anyway. And I don't know. It's kind of like it's become so ingrained that you kind of can't stop it from the outside. You kind of have to figure out how to make it better for kids that are going to do it. Make it better for them on the inside.
Well, yeah, exactly. Of course. And now we're going to get into their discussion here, and this is actually the real first debate we're really having.
Okay.
Actually, so hey, you mind if I finish this off? Or
all right. That's fair.
All right. Yeah. So for this one, we're gonna debate what is the worst superhero movie we've ever seen. Of course, I'll let you go first.
Of course. So yeah, I think when we were talking about the worst movie franchises the other time, I was I said that I don't know if I
Twilight.
said Oh yes. Twilight up there on my hate list, obviously. But yeah, no. Besides that, since we're talking about superheroes, I think I actually didn't tell you. I think I told my roommate that I think it was the second Captain America, the Winter Soldier. It was just like bad. I don't know.
Really, that made a lot of money at the box office.
Yeah. I don't care as much about the box office. I think what actually matters is if you'll remember it in 5 years, and I don't think people do.
I think they will because of the Avengers movies. And
the Avengers. I'm down with the Avengers. That's totally cool. But to me, that's a completely different genre, even though he's there. That's like a completely different thing. And yes, I think the Avengers are already memorable and will be memorable into the future. But I'm talking about just Captain America himself, the Winter Soldier thing, and but I had a date. He's way in the future at the end, but I had a date. It's just a cheesy, line to end on, and just I don't know. The whole thing was just. Granted, I only saw it once in the theater. Maybe I was in a bad mood, but I did not appreciate it at all.
Yeah. For me, this was pretty hard, but for me, I would have to go with Batman and Robin. Mm-hmm. I mean, I liked it when I was a kid because I was like really that big into Batman, but as I got older and much wiser to movies, and and plus looking at how it is now, it's like. Like, really? Did I really like this as a kid?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Batman Forever was okay. I mean, it was an okay movie. It's not the best Batman movie, but it's not the worst Batman movie.
Right.
But Batman and Robin completely sucked ass. I mean, come on, the bat nipples.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about the nipples.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they do the part where they do the remember in the beginning when they're getting in the costume and stuff, and they do the bat, the bat butts. They pull up their tights and they're like, doo, doo, doo. And you're like,
it's been a long time.
and I remember watching a review of it on the Nostalgia Critics video, because Nostalgia Critic he did one on Batman and Robin, and he did the joke of the. You remember the ambiguously gay duo from Saturday Night Live?
Of course.
He played the theme song. He was like, okay, we all know where this is going. He plays it, goes, the ambiguously gay duo, the ambiguously gay duo. And he goes, now that we've gotten that out of the way. Because the thing about that movie was like, they were like trying to go back to Batman and Robin, from the 60s, because they thought like the Batman movies with Tim Burton, the first two ones, Batman and Batman Returns, they actually thought Batman Returns was too dark, and then parents started complaining, and that's when Batman Forever, they started going into try to make it more lighter and stuff like that, and so thank you, Parents of America, for fucking up a movie franchise. Not my mom. My mom could give two shits.
Right.
But the rest of you parents, thanks a lot. Way to go. Way to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's exactly. I've heard a lot of bad things, and I understand. I mean, sometimes it is like things seemed a lot better when you were a kid. There is that aspect of it, like, oh, this seemed so great when I was a kid, and now it's so bad. But yeah, I can understand that some things really are that terrible, and it also has been far too long since I've seen that. But from what I've heard, yes, when you go back and look at it later, you're like, oh, this was terrible. This is horrendous, and why did I like it back then, type of thing. So I definitely understand. I think even some of the kids, in middle school, when I was, hearing about this, were like, yeah, why did it suck so much?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, now the Batman movies are. I mean, the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, I mean, they're good. And of course, Ben Affleck, he's going to be in his own Batman movie. I mean, he's doing Justice League, which comes out in November. And, who knows? Well, who knows if we'll have another great Batman franchise or not. But that Batman and Robin movie sucked ass. I mean, it's really bad. The only good part about it was Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl.
Oh.
Yeah.
Alicia Silverstone. She hasn't been in much. She was in Clueless, and, that was her big thing. And then... Well, she was in The Crush, she was in Clueless, Excess Baggage. That was like one of those guilty pleasure movies. Like, it really is a bad movie, but she was hot at the time. And, and plus, here's the thing. Batman and Robin in the movie get bat nipples. Yep.
And then, but... Alicia Silverstone doesn't get any bat nipples. What the fuck, Schumacher?
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's even in the show Psych, there's this thing where it's all completely made up. It's a made up superhero movie series, but everyone's talking about the nipples on the costumes. So I'm guessing that even though that was like a made up show, they're talking about that it was still a reference to Batman, to that Batman movie.
Oh yeah, and
how everyone hates the nipples, and that's all they remember.
Oh yeah, and the costumes just look. The bat costumes and the way the Batmobile looked too. Oh jeez, that was just dumb. In fact, also another thing was in the Batman and Robin movie, there was also the Bat credit card, and this, if you ever talk to the Nostalgia Critic, whose real name is Doug Walker, he hates it with a passion. In fact, he does, in the review of the movie, like, he does this funny thing where, like, he goes like, "A Bat credit card! Oh, you bastards! Oh, I'll kill you!" If you, if you just mention it, I've actually seen people, like, as a joke, they'll give him a Bat credit card. He'll go like, "A Bat credit card!" And then he'll go off and just pretend to be beating the shit out of him.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, some of those stuff, it's just infuriating in retrospect. There's just so many things that were like oh so new and trendy in the 90s, including credit cards, where where they had to say something about it.
Oh yeah, when George Clooney pulls out the Bat credit card, he goes, $5 million. And he pulls out the card and he goes, "Never leave the Cape without it." And I'm like, you look at it, you're like, what the fuck?
Did he say never leave the Cape or the cave? The Bat Cave.
Oh, I think he said either cave or cape. One of those two.
I think it makes more sense than the cave. I guess never leave home without it, but never leave the cave without it. Anyway, yeah. There was even in the 90s or 80s there was a Pinocchio, or I don't know, one of those like children's storytime movies that actually had the who was the giant? Anyway, I'm not gonna remember, but there was one of the stories with the giant and the Jack and the Beanstalk. I think it was it was a remake of Jack and the Beanstalk, and the giant, is rampaging through the city, and he sees a billboard for a credit card, and he's like, all these humans, they just pay for things with a puny piece of plastic. It pushes the billboard down. So yeah, they kind of couldn't help themselves in the 80s and 90s to talk about that stuff, but of course in retrospect it's just so cheesy and unbearable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, that's the thing. And plus, that movie in itself, Batman and Robin, that almost buried the superhero movie genre forever. Yes. It almost did, because by that time there was a lot of bad superhero movies by the late 90s, well, supposedly. I mean, I still like the Phantom. I still like Steel, but only because I'm a Shaquille O'Neal fan. But then, of course, when Wesley Snipes comes out with Blade, and it was like, okay, this is how you do it. And then later on, there comes Blade 2. Then, Marvel starts doing, the Spider-Man movies, and then, they did the Spider-Man movies. They did the third Blade sequel, which critics didn't like, but I liked. But and then came Iron Man, and then the Batman movies came out. So
okay, so yeah, you went from the 90s to the 2000s there. When you're talking about the
also X-Men. Gotta mention the X-Men.
Oh yes, indeed, gotta love the X-Men. But yeah, you were talking about the main Spider-Man movies, and starting in 2004 or whenever that first one came out, right?
Yeah. Actually, I think that was 2000, 2001. Actually, maybe the first X-Men movie.
Okay.
But But yeah, I mean, but now superhero movies are sort of in now. I mean, of course, if it's done correctly.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
and
Exactly, and it's it's also kind of expanding the genre as well. I mean, sometimes they're just remakes or redigestions of the same stuff, but sometimes they're expanding the franchise. I mean, obviously, the Avengers is like bringing in a huge circle of like already established heroes together, or or Deadpool is one of my favorites. It's completely expanding it to someone who would be have completely been outside of the Marvel universe beforehand, and is now included in his own strange way.
oh yeah, exactly. And plus, sometimes it's just a matter of good actors starring in bad movies. It's like for example, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, his worst films. Well, Maximum Risk was, I say, the third worst film. I haven't seen much of his directed DVD films, direct to video films.
Yeah.
But Maximum Risk, the only good thing about that movie was him fucking Natasha Henstridge in the bathroom. Good scene to watch, by the way. I've jacked off to it plenty of times. And I think the second worst movie he did was The Quest, where he plays like a French American in 1920s, and then he goes to Thailand and compete in a underground tournament. It's sort of like a mix between kickboxer and blood sport. It was almost like, okay, you've already done something like this. What else do you have?
I see.
And I say the worst Van Damme movie was the live action version of Street Fighter. Oh yeah, I mean, that was another movie I liked as a kid, but now when I look at it, I mean, the action is good, but like plot wise, it's horrible, But I do like the one liners, like he says in the movies, like when he's coming up to Shadow Law's headquarters, and he appears on Bison's screen, and he goes, "It's the Repo Man, Bison. Your ass is way overdue." Or then when he fights, or when he's going to fight Bison, Bison, he goes, "You've made me a happy man," and he goes, "Next, I'll make you a dead one." And then when he kicks Bison into the electronic stuff, and then before the thing explodes, Van Damme, he goes, "Bison, you're off the air," and then boom, it explodes. So yeah, I mean, I like Jean-Claude Van Damme, but sometimes it's just a matter of sometimes your favorite actors or your favorite superhero movies just as your favorite superheroes just do bad movies.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I still like Batman to this day. I mean, I like Batman Returns, Batman Forever. Some of the animated Batman films I like, the ones I've seen so far are pretty good. I've pretty much seen almost every one of them. And, the Nolan Batman films, Batman vs. Superman is great. I don't care what anybody says. I don't know what movie they were watching. And all those who didn't like it, fuck you.
Yeah, the jury's still out on that one for me. I have to watch it myself. But
yeah, so that's just what happens sometimes.
Exactly. And part of this is just that just the curse of Hollywood anyway. That there's so many new movies out, and they have to feel like they have to make new things and new things out of old things, really, because they don't have as much creative talent, unfortunately. So yeah, sometimes they feel like they just have to make a new thing out of an old concept, and so eventually that's going to run out, and we're going to have them actually make new stories. That's what the authors of today are doing. The best. I think the best movies that come out are actually from new authors that have made new stories for them to do. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head, and we got one more minute. So once again, another reminder: we're doing a Facebook Live preview of Canelo Alvarez Alvarez versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight.
Yes.
This Saturday night, Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, or as I call it, Cinco de KO for this event. Cinco de KO. So we're going to be talking about the fight, giving our predictions, and hopefully you guys will go to our Facebook page, Beantown Beatdown, and watch it and enjoy.
All right.
So we're going to end it here and go to youtube.com/BladeKnucklesTV, comment and subscribe to our channel. And from Beantown to your town, this is the Beantown Beatdown. Matthew Burris.
Gabe Thomas.
Vios con Dios.